Welcome to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. This week, my co-host Gramps has taken a week off. He's got to do some healing from the allergies that are going on in our wonderful state when fall rolls around. But I'm joined this week by Flower Moon Botanicals, Shelly Peebles and Maggie Green. How are y'all doing this evening?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm getting by. I'm loving this weather. It's not 100 degrees anymore.
Yes. I'm not complaining. Not complaining.
What, y'all are in New Braunfels right now, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What has it been down there? Because usually between Austin, I'm in Austin and New Braunfels, it's maybe a degree or two, but I've seen where vastly different weather. What's the weather been like in New Braunfels?
Well, it's been getting pretty nice. During the day it's like 70s and, cloudy. So it's not nearly as hot and humid. But today it was a lot more humid than it's been. But
we're in our trailer right now, and we had to run the AC today. In the last 3 days, we haven't had to use it because it's been nice and chilly. Sat outside, smoked a bunch. It's been really chill. Feels like fall, finally. It's not blazing hot anymore.
It's always great when you're like, feels like fall. You get to put the fall clothing on.
Yeah.
Finally gets, at least for me, I'm like, I get to start wearing pants again because I've been wearing shorts nonstop. And everybody's always poking fun because I wear cargo shorts. Everybody's like, they're like, are you going to grow up? And I'm like, I'm a dad. Dad shorts.
Yes.
Gotta hold my phone, my keys, and like 600 toys.
There you go. They come in handy.
Fidget spinners.
I'm glad my son's finally over that fad.
Yeah.
Or getting there, at least getting there. That was about Pokemon cards.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I got some Pokemon cards for you.
Mm-hmm.
And some fidget spinners.
Oh, man. Don't let him hear that. So, y'all are starting this business, Flower Moon Botanicals. How did y'all get into hemp and cannabis?
Man,
it was your idea.
It was kind of my idea.
Yeah.
But we actually met at a women's circle, and I was going through a really rough divorce. Maggie at the time was having issues with her marriage, and I didn't know it, but it was kind of like we kind of circled back and came together at a time later on in life where she was kind of going through the same thing. And so we just kind of, we got together, and I was going through some physical ailments as well and not really able to figure out what was going on with me. Health-wise, I got into CBD to try to relieve some of the physical symptoms I was dealing with. And I wasn't really getting anywhere with it. It wasn't really helping me, but, I was trying CBD from people that were like, those MLM type companies where you buy from your friend and your friend gets a commission, and that's what I was using.
Yeah.
And, when Maggie had some CBD from like a small farmer type place, and I tried that, and it was the best thing I've ever tried. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I need. And we just kind of started from there and got together. We got this idea to do a mobile dispensary, which is where we have a trailer that we have a permanent location, but it can be moved.
That's what I wanted to ask about. I remember when I first met you at Lucky Leaf last year, you were talking about doing the trailer and having the mobile dispensary. And then when you sent in to be on the podcast, you were talking about like a physical location, New Braunfels. I was like, what happened to the trailer? Like,
it's here. Yeah. It's on wheels. It's just in we call it a semi-permanent location.
It took us a while to get the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't remember the initial conversation. I know we just hung out a lot because we were both single moms and our kids get along well and our friends, and we were just able to support each other. And Shelly always has all these good ideas about business ventures, and she's been successful with other stuff in the past. And we were like, why don't we join forces and do something that could also help support other moms? I've dealt with anxiety basically my entire life, and also have a chronic autoimmune condition that creates a lot of inflammation and pain. That's what I started using CBD for back in like 2016, 2017. But it was very low dose, and it helped enough that I liked it and I wanted to keep using it, but I was interested in expanding to other products. And then I met Shelly, and she knew a lot more than I did about it. But we originally, the idea was to have a boutique and open it somewhere here in New Braunfels. And this was like during the COVID pandemic originally. And then the prices skyrocketed. And we're on single mom budgets. And so we were like, well, there's no way we're going to find any brick and mortar that we could actually afford to lease or rent, much less buy here in town. And we're like, what if we put it in a trailer? And it was movable. And so originally we were looking at like Airstreams and old retro trailers. That kind of seemed like too much trouble because it would require a lot of renovation and they all leak and they have problems. Shelly found this company, AeroBuild, and they custom build to spec. And we contacted them and the rest is history. It just took a lot longer than originally it was supposed to, like 6 months longer. So we just got the trailer here in town back in June.
Oh, so this has been a long journey just for the trailer on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man.
We were... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
And I understand like the cost thing. I was looking at office spaces like 3 months ago. I was like, man, I'm going back to school. I'm going to get some extra money. I might just get an office space to have a place to do some work and be able to do more proper interviews because this is set up in a room in my house with the green screen behind me. And I was like, I'd like to have, an actual proper place where I could do interviews and bring people who are nearby to come in and sit down and do the interview that way. And like the cheapest office space I could find for even like a cubicle was going to cost like $900 a month. And they're like, that's no utilities. That's just, here's a spot to sit down.
Wow.
Yeah. Rent is not cheap here either.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's not Austin prices probably, but it's still very expensive to rent a place here.
Necessity creates innovation, right? Or what's the saying? You have to get creative. You got to think outside the box.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
That's what it is. Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely needed. And I was astounded by I went to a law school fair yesterday, and they had a table from a school from Albany, and I was like, oh, I used to live up near there. I wonder what the cost of living is like there right now. And like, oh, you can get a studio apartment in Albany, like downtown right now, for about $850. I was like, what? And she's like, well, you think that's a lot? I was like, no, that's cheap. That's cheap compared to here.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy cheap.
I was like, everybody's always screaming, the cost of living in New York's horrible. And I'm like, the cost of New York City is horrible.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
We need to move to Albany.
Well, here's the thing. I'll give you the spiel I told this lady. I was like, this is what you got to convince these students of is, are you okay with 1.5 to 3 feet of snow overnight? Are you okay? Are you okay with your interstate, all of it being a toll road called a throughway? Are you okay with your heater being a radiator in the middle of the room that only has 2 settings, off and on is boiling hot? Are you okay with a house that doesn't have central air because it's likely the house was built in 17 whatever the hell, and you're not allowed to touch and put that type of stuff in because it's a historical monument at this point? And people are like, no. And I'm like, yeah, then Albany's not for you.
Is that where?
I'm from Texas. When I was in the Navy, I decided I had an option of staying in South Carolina in the Charleston area or going to upstate New York. And I was like, I'm tired of what I call illiterate South Carolina. My insurance rates were the highest I'd ever seen in my life. And turned out it's one of the highest places for car insurance rates. So I decided to go to New York, and I was in what's called Saratoga Springs. It's about 30 minutes north of Albany. So right at the foothills of the Adirondack Mountains, and it's beautiful. And I was surprised at how affordable it was, considering they have one of the oldest race tracks, like horse racing tracks in the country there. So there's people several times a year that are driving through with cars that are worth more than our houses.
Wow.
Yeah, there's people. A buddy of mine was like, dude, look at that car. And I was like, well, what's the deal with that car? And he's like, oh, that's like this Bugatti, blah, blah, blah. It's a $400,000 car. It's their lowest model they make. I'm like, this is 2007. I'm like, what do you mean it's a $400,000 car? God, I know houses that are less than that, like mansions.
Those are the people we need to talk to about investing.
There you go.
We need investors.
Yeah.
Get in touch with those jockeys. those dudes, they got money to throw out, and they're all sore from riding horses. Their joints are all messed up.
For real.
Yeah, we have come across, I think, pretty much every single barrier to entry in this market that we could have. And that, funding would be one of them. There was not a bank, I think, in the area willing to help us with actual CBD banking or loans of any kind.
Yep.
None of that.
And most of the problem is that these banks are not educated about CBD or hemp.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't understand what they're dealing with.
No.
They literally told us, "Oh, we won't bank with CBD businesses because they're all fronts for laundering money from marijuana sales." Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that, and that was the first thing I heard when this program started. Was banks were going, far as we're concerned, it sounds like you've got a front for laundering drug money, because we won't be able to know the difference. And at first people were like, I don't understand why you'd say that. And then it becomes painfully clear that you do have people who own a hemp business here. They also have a marijuana business in another state, and they don't want to disconnect the two businesses. And it's like, well, then you're really just running a hemp business as somewhat of a front for the other. They're like, no, I'm not. And it's like, prove it. They're like, I can't. And I'm like, that's the problem. And they don't want to touch that. I was like, I get it. They don't want to touch that. But it should be obvious. I mean, that if you don't have the other business going, that you're obviously not a front for this.
I wish we had a farm in another state.
Sure, that'd be great. But yeah, we don't. It's just that it was very clear to us that there's still such a lack of education in the industry. And it's like, the people that are doing the banking and the people that are in charge of making the laws, they don't understand the plant. They don't understand the industry. And so it's really frustrating from our perspective as we're trying to start this business up and get going. And just everything takes either twice as long or, there's a brick wall in front of us every 10 feet. So,
and we don't have any investors. We've done all of this ourselves.
Yeah. As single moms.
So shout out to our bank who do banks for Texas Cannabis Collective, Herring Bank. I don't know if y'all have reached out to them.
Yeah, we're probably going to end up having to switch to them because the bank that we originally went with charged us a bunch of money in fees, and we didn't even get a debit card or checks.
We had over a month.
No way to access our account. We had no way to even deposit money into the account.
It's like, why am I banking with you? You won't even let me touch my money.
Yeah, it was a show. It was ridiculous. And we went in there in person and I was like, I'm closing this account. And I just want you to know that the reason why we are closing this account is because we don't feel like you are earning the money that we are paying you. And I am not satisfied with a service that we've gotten thus far. Therefore, I don't want you to do business with you.
Yeah.
That's a really legit reason. It's like, I pay you to have this account and you won't even let me touch my money. It's like, what am I paying you to do?
$150 a month.
Good God.
For
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll probably end up going with Herring.
Yeah. Heard good things about Herring.
Yeah. I've talked with Andrew quite a bit there and he's great.
But say Andrew Escamilla, you can talk to him. He's the go-to guy with Herring and here in the state of Texas. Well, it is time for our sponsor break. So we're going to go into sponsor break here at the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. Our guest this week is Flower Moon Botanicals, Shelly Peoples, and Maggie Green. We'll be right back after our sponsor messages.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lonestar Collective podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas, from traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams, and Gramps.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. This week, our episode is Flower Moon Botanicals. That's our guest, with Shelly Peebles and Maggie Green. We're talking about how difficult it is to bank in Texas as a hemp business. It's insane.
It is. That's just one issue.
Yeah, that's only one
we're
aspect.
dealing with.
And the other thing a lot of people already know about, and I imagine you're going to be facing, if you haven't already faced it, is advertising. It is insanely difficult to advertise.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of just been dealing with social media for the most part. So yeah, we're well aware of all of that.
I've had good luck so far. I know so many people who've had their accounts banned or deleted completely, which is a huge blow after you've put so much time and effort into curating your social media presence. But I'm using as many hashtags as I can to get us out there. And so far it's been okay.
It's been a learning curve.
Yeah.
Like I have a marketing degree. That was my first degree. And it was during the time where social media was not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We might have had MySpace.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was actually a computer information systems major before that. And our internet was like a black screen with green letters.
Hercules monitors, yay!
and then like overnight, internet just took off, and then we have what we have today. But like social media classes were not a thing when I got my schooling.
So I will give you a tip while it's on my brain, talking about using hashtags. Limit the number of hashtags you use when you make a individual post. And it's one of those things that the social media networks are actually starting to punish. If you say you load up a post and you've got like 40 hashtags, or you've got even 15 hashtags, you're like, oh, I need this and this and this, and every other thing is a hashtag. They're actually limiting how many views your post will get, how often it'll show in people's feeds.
It changes every 5 minutes. That's another thing about not just social media, but this industry also, is that it seems like everything changes every few seconds.
So I would say right now it's changing because TikTok has taken off. TikTok has an enormous market share of users, and Facebook, Instagram, YouTube are trying to figure out how can they do something similar and keep their market share. What can they do that's similar to TikTok? Because apparently people want the features of TikTok. So Instagram right now, it's reels. Everything's about reels and making reels, whether it be on, even for Facebook, same thing. Video is king right now.
Yeah.
Vertical video on Facebook and Instagram is definitely king. They are not loving if you make horizontal video, like what I'm making, unfortunately. But and you'll see if you go to our Instagram account for the Cannabis Collective, we'll post a reel up here and there. And I've went and edited and cropped this to where it's a vertical video. It'll look like it's edited for a cell phone, or it'll be zoomed in or cropped out to be real, to be a REE real, not like real, like, oh, it's real life.
Yeah. I joined Instagram in like 2011, I think. I started doing photography in 2008. And then when Instagram came around in 2011, I joined. And I've always loved taking pictures and using the filters. And like you're saying now, it's not about still shots anymore. It all has to be videos, reels, everything spliced together, all of these crazy transitions, which are really fun. And I like learning new stuff like that, but also we're not really the age demographic that TikTok is geared towards. So the 40 something moms, we're trying to figure out how to be relevant and not look like we're trying too hard to be cool,
You say trying too hard to be cool. So I mentioned being a journalism, mass communications major. Digital media innovation is the actual course track that I'm on. And I'm actually in a class right now called Advanced Social Media Analytics. So it is explicitly, we are learning what are the tricks that, like, what does Instagram want to see? What will be distributed? What does Facebook want to see distributed? How well do posts perform under these circumstances? And like the health of each, we're going as far as like learning about the health of each business, because it obviously determines where they're going to try to take their business model.
Yeah.
But the thing with the video, like you mentioned, videos, quick cuts. We've talked about recently suspense. People love suspense. They want to, I got to see what's going to happen. I got to know that. If you can make videos with that, people are like, they're glued to it and they love it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm learning some from my 10-year-old son because he's addicted to YouTube. So he shows me a lot of fun videos that I get ideas from for audio tracks and what the current trends are.
And the thing is my advertising class I took in 2017, the big thing that we talked about was your ad will be successful if you can make your product cool. Mm-hmm. If you can pass it off as people are like, I got to have that to be cool, it won. Your advertisement has done its job. It's the most effective marketing strategy for advertisements when you're doing products. Yeah. Does it pop? Yeah. And does it make people feel like they're going to be cool if they need it?
I feel like CBD it basically sells itself because it's such a hot product right now. And there's so many people who are starting to learn about it and realizing that it can help with so many things that they have been using pharmaceuticals for years. And a lot of people are realizing they want to get off of these things that they've been prescribed and try something different. So I feel like we don't even have to try that hard to make CBD cool because it is already in demand. We just have to educate people on what it does, what it's for, and why they need it.
Speaking of such, I wanted to ask about, obviously y'all have had things where you've had medical issues that have taken place, and you mentioned pharmaceuticals. I imagine you were on some sort of pharmaceutical and you've decided, well, I'd like to move over to cannabis. Could you divulge more? If you want to, you don't have to. I understand some people like to keep that type of stuff private, but I think it'd be great hearing about like what was going on, the pharmaceuticals they had you on, and how cannabis changed all that for you.
It's a big part of our platform.
It is. Mm-hmm. So back in 2017, I was going through a really stressful divorce, and I was really active. I was big on working out. I worked out probably 5 or 6 times a week. And I, all of a sudden one day, I couldn't hold myself up to do a push-up. I would just crumble to the ground. And I didn't know what was going on. And then it kind of just progressed slowly into my shoulder bothering me, and I couldn't sleep at night. And then that turned into, numbness in my arm. There was like a searing pain in my forearm that nothing would kill it. It was like so painful. The only thing I could do was hold my arm like this to keep it from just killing me.
I was going to ask you, I saw the Instagram post. Do you mind if I put that up and share the screen with that while you talk about this? Okay. So you continue.
So my fingers started going numb, and I'm a dental hygienist. So none of that really worked well with me having to work. So, but I was working through it. But I was trying to go to the, doctors, and I went to a chiropractor. I got a massage. I had acupuncture done. I had cupping done. Finally ended up at an orthopedic doctor, and he did x-rays, and he was like, it's not your shoulder, it's your neck. He's like, you have degenerative discs in your neck, and it's not going to get better. The only thing to do is to alleviate the symptoms and maybe eventually have surgery. But he started talking about long-term pain management. I was already taking muscle relaxers and narcotics to try to help me sleep and try to help me deal with the pain. But I can't function on that kind of stuff. All I want to do is sleep. And I was also stressed out because I was about to be a single mom, with a single income and 2 children. And I was kind of freaking out about that. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm like, and now you're telling me I need a different job. I was really, really scared. And we went on a girls' trip to Colorado. And I had been trying CBD this whole time, and that was helping like during the day, but at night I still couldn't sleep. I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping about 4 hours a night, and I just couldn't function. But I tried
I said, oh man, wow.
I know it was a mess. But we tried Colorado. This is how we kind of started talking about like the education side of it, because we realized there's 2 different endocannabinoid systems, right? Everybody's got their own unique cannabinoid system, but we tried the same gummy. She was violently ill, and like migraines, throwing up, all that. I slept for 8 hours and I felt great. And I was like, I need more of this. Whatever this is what I need. And that really, cannabis really just gave my body time to heal and rest. And it just changed my life.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you go from being on a dozen different medications, and they're like, well, we're going to add a 13th for this other symptom that showed up. And you start realizing, well, I think that every time you add a medication, another symptom's going to show up, and maybe all these symptoms will go away if I stopped taking all of this stuff together. And then they're like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to replace it with? What are you going to do? You're just going to be sick? No, I'm going to use weed.
Yeah.
I don't say it like that, but...
Well, and so back to when I was going through all of this, my doctor got me into physical therapy, which did also help a lot with the symptoms. And so with the physical therapist, I went into the treatment room, and in the treatment room is this sign, and it's basically, the picture of a person in their brain, and it's all of these different things that are affecting their brain, and it just talks about the pain response in the body, and how pain it can be caused by emotional stress or physical stress. Your body doesn't know the difference. Everything, either one of those is going to manifest in your body as inflammation. And so if you're constantly in this fight or flight state, your body can heal. And that's what was going on with me. And cannabis allowed my body to do that, to relax
to
and
heal itself.
Yeah.
Rather than relying on some kind of compounded chemical medication to do that for you.
Yeah. And I had noticed too, taking these prescription medications that the doctors were giving me, at first I was taking them maybe every 4 to 6 hours, and then it started becoming every like 3 hours, and then it was every 2 hours. And then I finally was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not working, and I'm taking more and more of it. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to be in pain. So then when I was able to not be in pain and actually get better, that was a game changer.
It is time for our sponsor break. It's a nice little spot to stop. When we come back, Maggie will get a chance to talk about autoimmune, if you don't mind, because that interests me a lot. I have autoimmune disorder myself. So We will be right back. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. This is the Lonestar Collective podcast. Our guest this week is Shelly Peebles and Maggie Green of Flower Moon Botanicals. We'll be right back after our sponsor messages.
Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lonestar Collective podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta-8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective. Distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Gramps.
Chill music. I like it.
Well, thank you. Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. I have our thankful guest, Shelly Peebles. I'm the thankful one. She's actually appreciating the chill music. Maggie Green is with us as well. Chill vibes.
We are very thankful. It's the month of thankfulness, right?
Time for Thanksgiving. Giving thanks. To whom, I don't know, but we'll figure that out by the time Turkey Day rolls around.
It's like, I want to thank me for being me. Yeah.
I'm the king of the world. Yeah. That type of speech. They always, what is it? A friend of mine was joking about, they always thank God. Like, I thank God for helping me write these dope rhymes and these sick beats and the song about shooting everybody on the block by the end of the day. And it's like, what?
Objectifying women, selling weed. Yeah.
Selling weed thing ain't so bad. I don't know, the objectifying women thing's the problem.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
So we left off, we were talking about medical issues. And I know, Maggie, you brought up earlier about an autoimmune disorder. I wonder if you wanted to expand on that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have an exhaustive knowledge of this, but I got mono in college, which pretty much everybody gets at some point in their lives, it seems like. And I just happened to get really, really sick. I was like 18, so this was a while ago. I'm not going to give my age away. But I had to drop out and take incompletes in like 5 different classes. I developed a secondary condition that the doctor basically described as being like hepatitis D, I think, which is not contagious viruses. It's the condition of the liver. I sustained spleen damage. So my entire adult life, I've just been like, I get sick constantly, whatever anybody has. When the wind blows, if I'm in a room full of people, I'll get whatever germs everybody else has. And it only got worse after I had my first child 10 years ago.
College is not for you. I can tell you that right now. College campus is not where you want to be ever again.
No.
She did survive college.
I did. I made it through college. I finished. I got a degree. I don't use it at all anymore.
Don't prove Elon Musk right here. Don't do that.
Yeah. I loved college. It was just, I was sick all the time. And I'm also a singer. And I was in a scholarshiped singing program at my university for 3 years. So I had to sing to have enough money to continue my degree. And so I was constantly fighting off. I was on steroids. I was on Allegra D, prescription, over the counter, everything. And I just kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And then I became a public school teacher.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. It was like working in a petri dish, 50 hours a week at least. And it was middle school. And middle school children do not care about washing their hands or bathing. And most of them, this was in like not so great of an area in San Antonio, low income district. Most of those kids were below the poverty line. They did not have people at home that helped take care of them, got them medicine. They went to school sick all the time. 2.5 years, I was constantly sick. I had my first child in 2012. And it was after that I went into like a flare, basically. When you have an autoimmune condition, it's called, you have
a flare. I have rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah. The flare.
Yeah. Yes. Not for like Office Space flare that you wear, on your suspenders, but this is not a fun.
In the military, those are called ribbons.
Oh,
they're flare.
Yes. No, that would have been more fun. I also had a pretty stressful marriage. It was just a lot of conflict. We didn't get along very well. And I don't think he ever took seriously my health issues because I looked fine to most people. It's an invisible disease. I can still walk. I can still eat. I can drive a car most of the time. The way it manifests for me is if I don't get enough sleep, like at least 7 hours a night, my body, I get run down. I'm not one of those people that can just push through when I'm tired and keep going. No, I will like break down. My body makes me stop if I don't stop. And so when I found CBD, it was like, wow, this is what normal people feel like. I'm not dragging ass constantly. Sorry. I have some energy. I have some clarity because like brain fog is another horrible part of autoimmune. I have multiple food sensitivities. So if I ate anything with gluten or dairy or eggs, that just contributed to the overall pain, chronic inflammation, and brain fog. And just zero energy, no energy at all, no like zest for life. All I could do basically was take care of my kids. That's all I could manage. And then I went through a divorce starting in 2019 when Shelly was finishing up with hers. And that was when we got back in contact. We'd already met, but we weren't really friends before that. And we ended up at the same restaurant one night. We're just like, hey, how are you? And she was like, oh, I'm getting divorced. And I was like, me too. What is up? So
what a way to initiate a conversation. Hey, girlfriend, how you doing? I'm getting divorced. Ooh-wee.
Well, it seems like in our age group, it's an extremely common thing that's happening a lot.
More so now.
Yeah. A lot more now.
Yeah.
And the last few years have been really hard on a lot of people, not just because of COVID, but definitely that has contributed. CBD has carried me through a lot of things. And I got COVID last summer. I was really sick. The only thing that helped with the COVID headaches was Delta 8. We had just been to Lucky Leaf right before that, like a month before I got COVID. We had gone to the Lucky Leaf Expo in Austin. That was sort of like the beginning of our actual business venture. We had just been talking about it up until then, but that was when we actually started meeting people. We met some of the farmers that we now carry products from. We met Aaron from Tejas Hemp there. We met Sweet Sensi.
We met Martha and Eddie.
Martha and Eddie from Oak Cliff, and more. We met the Vessel guys, and it just took off from there. But if we had not gone to that, we wouldn't have known about the Delta 8 gummies that wound up getting me through having COVID. So thank you, Aaron from Tejas Hemp.
Thank you, Aaron. Aaron.
Aaron.
I don't know what it is. I haven't caught COVID. I'm like looking around for something that's made of wood. My desk over here, because
you may need to study your your blood.
Because let's say, and I didn't play around the beginning of it, because I caught swine flu back in 2009 when that first came out, and I had to go to the hospital for that. I was so bad off. Like I was like, I got pneumonia. They're like, how do you know? Because I've had pneumonia before. It's no walk in the park. It's not like there's a cold. There's a cold where you're like, oh man, I got a cold. And there's flu where you're kind of like, oh, I'm kind of fatigued. And when you've got pneumonia, you're like, you're just out of it. You're not there. You're like, I want to be asleep and never wake up.
Yeah.
And I remember going through that for like 2 weeks, at least for about 4 to 5 days. I was like, I'm going to die. I was like, I'm not going through that again. But by the next year, like I went to legislative session, and if I could avoid wearing a mask, I avoided wearing a mask. And people are like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Like personally, I got vaccinated. I didn't push it on anybody else. But I was like, my own choice. I have an autoimmune disorder. I've had lung diseases. I'm going to do what I can for myself. And I trust it right now. And legislative session with people running around, didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Went to Lucky Leaf, didn't catch it. Apparently people were coming back from that, catching it. Heck, I went to a Rammstein concert about a month and a half ago. And a buddy of mine was probably 10 yards, 15 yards away from me. I didn't even realize he was there. He tells me 3 days after the concert, yeah, I caught COVID, and I'm pretty sure it's from the concert. And I'm like, oh, crap. You were like right next to me.
Yeah.
Immediately was taking tests for like 2 to 3 days, negative. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just going to keep moving on.
You're like, I'm just going to keep my head tucked and keep moving forward. And
You've had good luck so far.
Yes.
That's good.
I think part of it is I'm consistently like having to clear my throat and cough stuff up. So it's to me, it's a possibility that if I did get in my lungs, it possibly got on that. Like that's what mucus in your lungs is for, is to actually try to protect it from viruses. So the fact that I'm probably producing a little bit extra helps me out. It's debilitating in that I can't breathe the way I need to breathe, but it's keeping me from getting a serious fatal virus in my lungs that would probably kill me.
Yeah. I found it really interesting that somebody we follow on Instagram, like it might have been Normal or another one of those major cannabis information sites, posted that smoking cannabis had actually been shown to prevent severe side effects of COVID or help decrease the severity of COVID symptoms. Shelly got COVID last year in the fall, and you would agree with that, right?
I can attest to that. I think smoking flower the whole time I was sick was probably what helped me keep from developing pneumonia. But that's pretty much what I did. Is I had a lot of cannabis.
Yeah.
And I don't tend to lean either way with that, because I remember when it first came out, and people are like, oh, I smoke, therefore I'm not getting it. And the guy who founded Texas Normal, Bill Norton, he caught COVID. And people are like, I'm not going to catch it. I smoke weed. I was like, dude who founded Texas Normal caught COVID. You know that guy smokes weed. That ain't it. That ain't the solution.
Well, I'm not saying that you wouldn't catch it,
right,
because you smoke weed. I am saying that, like, I think it does help with the symptoms, and I think it helps prevent the pneumonia,
the respiratory part of it.
Yeah,
and that's where I started getting a little bit conflicted on my own. Was that I started looking into, I was like, where does this as an anti-inflammatory agent, work against you and then work for you. And for the studies I could find, it was literally was showing like if you have colds and flus that it would actually be a hindrance to your healing. And that the reason why is it would take longer because your system's anti-inflammatory measures for a cold and flu are what actually starts expelling that out of your body and getting you back to being healthy. Whereas things long-term such as HIV or hepatitis, those are things that are not going away and you need to manage the symptoms of it. So it became this conflict of like, does this help? And now we have studies showing, I think it's like CBG. CBG blocks the protein. And apparently if you're they start doing studies now, I saw where if you add, the more THC you add into it, the less effective the CBG is. So now when I go to these conventions, that's something else I do. I see if somebody's selling CBG and I'm like, yes, I'll buy that. They're like, why? I'm at a convention. I don't want to catch COVID. I don't want to get sick.
Personally, CBG is my favorite cannabinoid so far. And I know there's still a lot out there and there's a lot of things that I haven't personally tried. I have very, very low, you're talking about CBG. I have super low tolerance to actual THC. So I can't handle any more than what is the legal Texas amount anyway. That's enough for me. And CBD works really well for like anxiety and relaxation for me, but it does make me kind of tired. And I already have chronic fatigue syndrome. So I had been taking CBD with copious amounts of caffeine for the first few years. And then when we went to Lucky Leaf, we started seeing all of this variety. And I had never heard of CBG, but I bought some and I tried it and was like, whoa, I can remember stuff that I have to do. And I can stay awake all day without taking a nap because I also have ADHD. So I feel like CBG actually has really helped with my like inattention problems as well.
I brought up y'all's website here so when people get a look at it, y'all can shout out your website and let everybody know where they can find y'all and your products. As y'all open up your store. Y'all are at flowermoonbotanicals.shop, correct?
Yes.
So get some of these common ground CBD wellness tea blends, or CBD body creams, night serum, all that. The sleepy stuff as you were talking about before.
Yes.
THC.
We love their stuff. They are a woman-owned business as well. And they started in Colorado, but they live in New Braunfels now, which is really cool.
They're local to us. They're really cool people.
Follow at Flower Moon Botanicals, New Braunfels, NB, NB for New Braunfels.
That's our trailer.
Not New Balance, New Braunfels.
No.
And there's that Airstream y'all were talking about.
Yeah, we were gonna refinish a trailer ourselves, and we decided we didn't have time to do that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not super handy.
Nah, me either. We just had to outsource it to somebody that knows what they're doing.
It probably would have taken us like 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We did it ourselves.
Fixing a light in a house takes like 2 years. You're like, oh, I'll get this week. I'll replace the bulb and I'll replace this fan.
Put it on the list or put it in the pile and it'll get done at some point.
I've had security cameras that I need to hang on my house in maybe 4 or 5 months sitting in a box.
I had to come over to her house and put together a bunk bed because it had been sitting in your house for how long?
2 months at least. My kid needed a new bunk bed. It wouldn't have gotten done if she hadn't helped me.
Well, is there any other things y'all want to get out where we're going to wrap it up here at the Lonestar Collective?
Oh, the story of the name of our business, Flower Moon Botanicals. Yeah. So we had other ideas before that. We were throwing around different things, but when we finally settled on that name, it was for a couple of different reasons. First, it was in May, and the month of May is always, the full moon is a flower moon. And we were like, flower moon, and flower as in cannabis flower or hemp flower. And then we really liked the symbolism of the moon phases because it's a constant cycle. And that really speaks to us as women. And just as human beings, our lives are all about cycles and finding ways to celebrate those different phases of life. So that's where the name came from. Flower Moon is because we chose the name in May. That was when our business started in 2021. And you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah. Yep. That and kayaking.
Yeah. Yeah. I started a kayaking group for social distancing during the pandemic shutdown, because I live right on the Guadalupe River. And so it's the full moon kayaking group. And
Nice.
we would go out at night on every full moon of the month during the summer.
You're going to fall in the river someday and a catfish is going, ah. There are a bunch of giant catfish in that river.
Yeah, we don't swim. We just kayak.
Just kayak.
You don't swim. What are you going to do if you fall out of the kayak?
Well, we get out in the canal. So
Yeah,
she lives on
in
the
the canal.
Guadalupe, and we paddle up the Guadalupe, and then there's a convergence with the
Mhm.
canal. So we just turn onto the canal, and that's where we go swimming.
Yeah.
I don't really like
Not
swimming
in the
in
Guadalupe.
the Guadalupe.
I thought you were saying I don't swim, like I can't swim. And I was like, what are you going to do if you fall out of the kayak?
Oh, no.
No. The water in the canal is just beautiful, and clear and cool. The Guadalupe is just dirty and
Yeah.
You want to know why it's dirty like that? Because they had to pass through Kerrville. I can say that because I used to live over there. So
Yeah.
go down to Louise Hayes Park, look at that dirty river.
I
Be
love
like,
Louise Hayes Park.
oh, it's
I
a
took
beautiful
my
park.
kids there.
It's a beautiful
It is
park.
gorgeous. Yeah.
The ducks are the most aggressive ducks I've ever seen in my life. They're worse than a bunch of geese. Well, I appreciate y'all joining us here on the Lonestar Collective.
Thank you
for
for
having
having
us.
Let's say Flower Moon Botanicals. That is going to do it this week for the Lonestar Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. Our guest this week is Flower Moon Botanicals. You can find more information about them at flowermoonbotanicals.shop. It was Shelly Peebles and Maggie Green joining us this week as our guest from there. We hope everybody has a great week. Stay safe and enjoy this wonderful fall weather we're in now.